Going on, ladies and gentlemen? Back again with yet another episode of the Gift is Free podcast. Appreciate everybody coming out, as always. People that's joining in, I like to let a couple people join in and get acquainted real quick before we get started. It's going to be a great show tonight. Some insight, some different aspects of thinking, like a different way and a different wave of thinking. Tonight's going to be a different interview. I always say that with all of mine, but this one's going to be different as well. You're going to thoroughly enjoy this from top to bottom. This is a real good brother. Great interview tonight. My man Darren Smith. Known him for a number of years, man. He's just been a cool, calm, collected cat, as always, looking from the outside in, and then actually getting to have conversations and be around him. As I got older, he's a cool gentleman, and then we actually had a connecting point out of nowhere. That was a very, very, very wild. You know what I mean? But we'll get to that later on, and you'll know exactly what we're talking about when we talk about it later. But yeah, man, ladies and gentlemen, we're back again on the Gift is Free podcast. I'm Beyond Queen, and tonight I got my man Darren Smith coming on. I'm gonna introduce him right now. What's going on with you, bro?
What's up, good brother? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm wonderful, man. First of all, I'm appreciative. I appreciate you coming on the show, coming on the podcast and kicking some game real quick. I really appreciate it, first and foremost. But other than that, I'm good.
Yeah, man, for sure. You reached out to me. This was a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
Big fan of you, big fan of the show. You know what I'm saying? So this was something that I definitely had to do. So thank you for having me on. You know what I mean? I definitely appreciate it.
Facts, man. And
sure.
First thing I like to do when I first get people on my show, man, is just, you know what I mean, ask them what's on their mind and ask them what's, you know what I mean, right off the top of their head, if they had something that's on their mind they want to discuss and wanted to talk about. So I want to kind of get started before we give the background and everything that you got going on. I just wanted to see if there was anything prevalent on your mind that you wanted to speak about at this point right now.
Nah, nothing more so than what's going on in the world. You know what I mean? The battles that we're fighting, pandemic, all of the things with, racial injustice, social injustice, and just all of those things combined is making the world a very, very complicated place to live in, and to see it, play out in front of our eyes is just something. It's just something, really, really, it's crazy to watch and it's historic to watch at the same time. We're living through something that people have never seen before, literally.
Right.
So, just to see it play out day by day, it's crazy. You know what I mean? So, those are where my thoughts are, where they've been since everything has started. Just trying to get through it day by day, like everybody else, trying to stay safe. Just keeping everybody in mind, my family, the people I haven't seen in a while. Just taking the necessary measures to stay safe, man. So that's pretty much where I've been mentally. And I feel like most people that I know have been on that same, that same wavelength. So nothing too out of the ordinary. That's where I've been at. So.
Okay, man. And to kind of speak on that, man, and speak on that the pandemic that's going on right now. I know we had like a serious shutdown when everybody really couldn't even commute or go anywhere, anything. But we've kind of had still like this series where we've kind of really been like ducked off and kind of been in the house and kind of like really in close quarters.
Yeah.
What is something that you feel like you mastered during this time?
Something that I've mastered,
or something that you kind of picked up that was a little like different from what you would have been doing if you was out and about. Was it something that was you picked up that was a different skill, or was it something that you attacked?
Or maybe I wouldn't say master, but just things that I've been able to to put more focus on, being that we've had unfortunately we've had more time to to do those types of things. So it's kind of look at those things. It's a silver lining in the dark cloud that we've been able to take time to reflect and focus on things that we may not have been focusing on with prior to this. So I mean, of course, taking the time to really to get the book together and put that out. I know that probably would have taken, it may have taken a little longer to do without this time that we've had on our hands. So I'm focusing on that. I was able to, thankfully I was able to purchase my first crib during this time.
Congratulations, brother.
Appreciate it. Just getting my finances together for that, and being able to do the necessary steps without a lot of the outside distractions, because I've been working from home, and I've just been able, I've just been able to do those things, taking necessary steps, because I haven't had to go to work, and I haven't had the other outside things that I'm usually out and about, going to work, just doing different things, just through your daily life. So so just focusing on those two things would definitely, I wanted to use this time wisely. So those things were definitely the two things that I wanted to accomplish during this time. You know what I mean? So so I wouldn't say master, but just those that I were,
I probably shouldn't have been so direct and switch straight to master. You feel me? But
right.
Just more. You got you kind of answered the question all over.
Sure.
That was pretty smooth. You feel me?
Definitely.
So you know what I mean? Kind of to I don't want to get too far, because I heard you mention it already with the book, but kind of give people a little bit of the background of where you're from, and kind of what you were into coming up, and you know what I mean?
And for sure. Let's say Darren Smith. I'm originally from Shadyside, Maryland. Small
Shadyside.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. When you see people, we know a lot of the same people, but when you see anybody with that 468 behind like their Instagram name,
you already know,
whatever, that's what that means. That's where people from. They're from that area. So small town, Southern Anne Arundel County. Came up, had a really really good childhood, had a really great support system, loving family. People who were really invested in me, invested time and energy in me, to see that I grew up to make something of myself. So I can't thank and the people, they know who they are. People who invested time in me, it's too many to name, but I'm always grateful and thankful for those people. But came up Shadyside, Maryland. But as I grew into a preteen, teenager, I started to I migrated kind of Annapolis and North Anne Arundel County. So I made a lot of my friends playing basketball, AAU basketball. So a lot of the people that Queen, I've known them since we were 11, 12 years old. We're talking about Kerwin Porters, the Ryan Parkers, the Dion Peters, like these guys. I met these guys when I was young, and I met them through playing sports. Nice. So I started really. I've been playing sports since I was 6 years old, but I started playing real competitive, like AAU, around 11, 12 years old, and that's when I started to kind of migrate to, like I said, Annapolis and north of the county. So, I started off on a Southern middle school, and then I transferred to Severn School. I went to Severn School for high school.
Now, hold on, I'm gonna cut you off real quick.
Yeah,
I want to split that. I want to talk about the Severn aspect as a different aspect. So,
definitely
coming up, like you play sports, and I know, I mean, the basis of this interview is about the book, but this show and this is around sports. Like, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Sports, primarily basketball.
For sure.
You played basketball coming up, and you said you started playing competitively around 11, 12 years old, and you know what I mean? During that time, it's not, I mean, thinking about it and even hearing stories, it wasn't like you was just a scrub playing. You was out there, you was giving dudes gas. You see what I'm saying? So it was like a situation where I always wanted to ask you, like, because I never got to ask you. We never been on that accord to be in that situation. But I was like, what was it? Who was the player that you was looking up to? Like, who was your favorite player? Who was the player that drove you to play basketball? Like your favorite athlete at the time?
I mean, coming up, You mean just like NBA players that that we see on TV, or players that we grew up watching? Of course, the Jordans, Anthony Hardaway. That was my man. If it wasn't, right next to Jordan was Penny for me.
Yeah, I see you rep Penny a lot.
Yeah, Grant Hill. I love Grant Hill's game. Who else? Man, it's so many. You know what I mean? Of course, as I got a little older, Kobe Bryant. But all of the guys that everybody emulates and patterns their game after. I know it's funny. And when I got to high school, I wore number 14. And a lot of people don't know this, but I wore that number because of Lynn Greer, who went to Temple. I loved his. He was a lefty just like me. I loved his game.
Lynn Greer, like who would be? That's what I'm saying. Like that's why I want to ask that question. Like Lynn Greer, that's different. You know what I mean?
Loved his game, dog.
Right.
He was strong, tough guard. And I loved Temple. I loved Temple University. I wanted to go there. Like, if I could have hooped in college, I probably would have. If I was on that level, you know what I mean, I would have loved to go to Temple. I loved Philly. I loved that school, and I love that he competed in the A-10 conference. So that was where when I got to high school and we picked our numbers, I picked 14 because of Lynn Greer, because he was just a smooth lefty who could shoot the lights out. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was like my motivation for picking that number. But no, like I said, coming up, once I started playing AAU basketball, which was around 11, 12 years old, played for the legendary Coach Wilson, rest in peace. And that's when, when I really realized like what the game was about. You know what I mean? That's when we started to play competitively. I watched your podcast with my homeboy, my man Kerwin on here, and he was talking about how, when you got to Coach Wilson, that's when you stepped your level of play up. The competition was, I was coming from, Southern Anne Arundel County playing basketball down there. So I wasn't used to, 2-hour practices when you're 12 years old and, playing 3 or 4 games sometimes in a day in a tournament every single weekend from Virginia to Baltimore to anywhere up and down the East Coast, wherever there was a tournament, we were there. You know what I'm saying? And we would sometimes just roll only 5 deep, 6 deep. You know what I mean? But we giving people the business. You know what I'm saying?
Coming from that situation too, like, because I feel like I can relate to that being where I was at in Pasadena. Yeah. I didn't even really get exposed to AAU ball until I was like 15. Right. So it was like really late. But I was playing in Pasadena for that long and being accustomed to playing around the way for that long, and everybody that came to the lake was coming from each and everywhere. Right. So I felt like I would have been fine with it, but I just felt like if I would have been into it way earlier, I would have been a little bit better off. So I want you to kind of expound on that a little bit, like how you have to come from a place like Shadyside and that adjustment that you have to make. And how it kind of drives it, because I feel like it's one and the same. Like it kind of drives you when you're in those situations and you're coming from there and you go to those city, quote unquote, what I mean, those places, and you got to prove yourself. So talk about that and what it was that drove you during that time.
No, absolutely. It was definitely an adjustment. Coming from a small area and then going to compete against people who are just as good, if not better than you on a consistent basis. But at the same time, that's something that, if you feel like you're good and you feel like you're the best, that's who you want to play against. And we were exposed to that competition, all the time. So it brings out that competitive nature in you that you want to compete. You want to show that, like, I don't care where I'm from, I'm not a slouch at all.
Thanks.
You know what I'm saying? So that's it definitely brings out that side of you. Just from a day-to-day standpoint, I'm 11, 12 years old. My days are so long now because I'm traveling. Of course, the summertime we're practicing every single day.
Right.
So, and my mother, this was, like I said, back in the day. Well, my mother, she still works in DC. So my mother's coming home from DC to Shadyside to pick me up. Then we're driving to Severna Park to get to practice by 6 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? And then we'll practice.
Being grown
Yes.
really makes you understand how crazy
Right.
mom was
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, man.
You know
Those
what I mean?
sacrifices. You don't notice it. I mean, you kind of know it when you're young, but when you're older now and you see the things that you have to do, and I mean, I don't have any kids, but just to see what people have to do to put their children in position to be successful and to keep they make sacrifices to to keep their children out of the streets and to make sure they're doing things constructive with their lives. You know what I'm saying? So I commend my mother every day now for that, because that's something that I know every day she was dog tired, but she did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not only that, exposing me to a higher level of competition and bringing out more play, better play in me. That also, it kind of, I was able to make friends, and the friends that I have until this day are from those bonds that I made literally through basketball, through AAU basketball. People, I mean, my closest friends I've known since I was 10, 11, 12 years old. I met through Coach Wilson. I met through playing Savannah Park AAU basketball in 3D, and going on those long trips and tournaments and YBOA, AAU, and sleeping in the cars together, and all of us in our coach's living room, and we sleeping in our uniforms because we just played at 8 o'clock. We get home, we got a game the next day at 10. You know what I mean? Those sorts of things, like it builds that brotherhood, it builds that camaraderie, and those things are, those memories are priceless. You know what I'm saying? So above all else, that's the one thing that I cherish about about coming up and playing in those competitive fields, with just the bond and the friendship that I made. You know what I'm saying? Of course, we were all competitive and all wanted to win, but it was just a brotherhood that we had.
Facts.
And anybody who was fortunate enough to play competitive AAU, they can attest to that. You know what I'm saying? So
that's a common, like, in like, you speak on the bonds and the relationships that you built through sport. I feel like in Anne Arundel County specifically, I mean, I know it happens throughout a lot of different places, but I know our county specifically, and even close counties, your PG counties and your Baltimore cities and your Baltimore counties, like the relationships, you can establish a relationship with a tree of people through playing a sport. Yeah. And that is something that I really feel like in our county that was like really, really helpful for us. Like if we didn't have sports, like it would be kind of hard to establish relationships with people. Like, you know what I mean? Being from where we were from, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that was
guys that were from up road and from down the road, they're not going to be checking for a guy from Pasadena or a guy from Shady Side or
right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
It was a beautiful experience coming up to establish these relationships with the people that we came up with.
For sure, absolutely.
I'm glad you spoke on it.
And that's coming and where I'm from, it's a small town. So it's anything that anything you want to do at a higher level, whatever it is, all of the resources are Annapolis and north in Anne Arundel County. So once you get below Annapolis, once you get into the Edgewaters and the South Rivers and the Dills and the Churches and the Shady Side, the resources just become just less and less because it's just less people. You know what I'm saying? So anything that you want to do, like, is you gotta. I don't want to say anything, but if you want to compete at a higher level, if you want to be exposed to more, it's in your best interest to you have to migrate and see where those different resources,
no doubt,
in that different level of competition. You know what I mean? Like there's no Lake Waterford League in Shady Side. There's not a Truckman Park League or Wild League in Shady Side. So everyone has to migrate in order to be exposed to different things. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's something that my mother saw just at a young age. Like, okay, you gotta get out, because this area is not gonna. It doesn't have enough to keep you here. So we have to get you out to where the resources are and to where the different things and expose you to different levels of competition and just expose you to different facets of life, period. Because I'm from Shady Side all day, but it's just, that's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. That's just what it is. Like you said, it is what it is. Now, the thing about it is, I heard you just say this a minute ago, you got to look out and look beyond, was coming up, was sports one of the only goals that you had, just because, like, you know what I mean, you were really into sports. I could tell, like, you know what I mean, just knowing about your background. I know, but just to kind of give them a little glimpse of it, was sports really just the primary thing that you were motivated by at the time, or what were kind of some other things you wanted to do when you were young?
Nah. I mean, I always, of course, sports was it. You know what I mean? Um, that was, what my focus was on. That was when my first love lied. But I always wanted to go to college. I always wanted to be a person of substance, and to be a person that was more than just whatever, dribbling the basketball, running with a football. I wanted to be known for more than that, and that's something I'm still continuing to strive to do.
Right.
And but at a young age, like that was instilled in me to, you got to get an education.
Yeah.
Like, school, we don't play around with that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, and that was that was one of the deals my mother made with me coming up. Like, as long as you take care of what you have to take care of in school, I'll make sure anything you want, if it's within my power to get it, I'll make sure that you have it.
Yeah.
That's your side of the deal, to make sure you handle what you have to handle in school. Make sure you get good grades.
And you took care of that.
You know what I'm saying? Make sure you're respectful. Just make sure you're, a good person. And then all the other outside stuff, whatever your materialistic things, and you want to do this and do that, I'll do what I can, as much as I can, to make sure that you're, to make sure that you're taken care of. But the school, that's your responsibility. You know what I'm saying?
Man, that's amazing, man. Because, like, a lot of times, especially with us, like, as Black Americans, we really are keyed in on doing those one or two things coming up. So it's kind of, you know what I mean? I just kind of try to get the glimpse of what kids, when we was coming up, kids, what was on your mind. You know what I mean?
And I never, so two things. I always wanted to be well-rounded. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I wanted to be, good at basketball, good at football, but also good at grades. Like, you can do all of them and still be cool, still be cool in school, still be likable, still have friends. You don't have to, I never thought, being a dummy was cool. I never thought that, not doing your thing in school was cool. You know what I'm saying? That was never the type of time I was on. And for two, I always looked at myself, even now, I always looked at myself as a realist. I knew I was good. Don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? I knew I was good at all the sports I played. I was good at basketball, good at football coming up. But I knew that the likelihood of me making it to, the next level, as far as D1 basketball, NBA, that likelihood is very slim. You know what I'm saying? The higher and higher you rise, we just talking about facts and numbers. You know what I'm saying? So, not saying that I wasn't striving for that, but I was just realistic. So I know that I have to, I have to plan for, let's say those things don't work out. What are you going to do? That can't be the only thing that you have that you're attaching yourself to. You know what I'm saying? What else do you want to do with your life? And so I always was mindful of that. Of course, I always wanted to compete, play at a high level. But at the same time, I knew that those things, just being realistic, the likelihood of those things it was just slim. We just dealing with numbers.
Yeah.
Once you play in the AAU, and when you get to that level, everybody's the best.
Yes.
From wherever they're from. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I was the best coming out of Shadyside when I was young. But you got the best coming out of whatever state you're in. You know what I'm saying? That's who you're competing against. You can still do your thing. But just the numbers, as you grow older, the numbers shrink. It's just a numbers game. You know what I'm saying? You got to be cognizant of that. You know what I mean? That's just being realistic. So
that's something that you grasped at an early age. So, and that's probably because you had your head in the books, like you was geared towards it. You knew, first of all, you didn't have to have that as a crutch, because you know what I mean, you had the wherewithal to be able to navigate in the classroom just as well as you did on the football field or socially or whatever it may be. Right. So now you're coming through elementary and middle school. I know we dove into that for a long time, but high school is kind of because it's going to be a two-part. I'm going to come back to the high school part in a second. I want to ask you about something that I actually saw. But you get to high school and you go to Severn School, you said?
Yep.
Where's that located?
Severn School. Yep.
Severna Park, Maryland?
Yep.
And what were your thoughts going in? Is that like something that you planned on doing, or was that like
So, as when I was in eighth grade, and a lot of people don't know this either. Like when I was in eighth grade, when I played for 3D basketball, AAU. We played, I played for them during county league as well. So we were playing in 2 different county leagues, and we were playing AAU tournaments during the summer, the whole 9. So we had a scrimmage. My 8th grade 3D team, we had a scrimmage against the Math, right? And I think we scrimmaged their far soft team. You know what I'm saying? And I did my thing.
Don't tell me you guys ready to say. Don't tell me you didn't coach them.
No, I did my thing. So, so from there, the Math they were interested. You know what I mean? So, so long story short, okay, as I was coming out of 8th grade going into 9th grade, I had interest from DeMatha, I had interest from Spalding, from Coach Burley, you know what I mean, and from Severn, because my AAU coach, Coach Tank Duckett, he just got the new job as the new athletic director at Severn School.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was only 30 years, and like I look back on this now, you know what I mean? He was only 30 years old when he got that position, which is, you think about what you've done at when you're 30, 31, 32, and that's just
turned 30 a couple weeks ago, yo.
Right, exactly. You know what I'm saying? So he got that position at Severn School as the athletic director. He was going to be the head basketball coach. So he wanted to get as many of his players, or just the nucleus of his players from 3D into Severn. You know what I'm saying? But once I got interest from the method, I was like, man, that's what I was. Yeah,
we want that.
Look, I was like, I think I want to be a stag, Joe. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
I want to be a stag. Like this. Yeah. You know what I mean? This is a basketball powerhouse. Like,
man, everything powerhouse.
Absolutely. Everything powerhouse.
Everything.
For sure. Right. So so I took tours of the Matha, took tours of Severn, you know what I mean? And it really just came down to the trust that my mother had in Coach Duckett. You know what I mean? He had been coaching me since I was 11, 12 years old. He watched me grow up, instilled a lot in me. I owe that man till this day. Yeah. But it was still in my mind. I wanted to go to the Math. I remember one night my mother just said, I think you're gonna go to Severn. Like, and I was like, in my mind, I'm like, damn. But I'm not the one to argue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I understand. I totally understand.
And of course, now looking back, that was the best decision to make. Just from what I gained from there, in the classroom as well as athletically, just the people who just poured themselves into me. You know what I mean? Their time, their energy, their wisdom, their guidance. You know what I mean? And yeah, so that's how that decision came about. It wasn't up to me. It was more so up to moms. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, like I said,
you gotta trust
the right decision.
Yeah, she does. She more times than not. You know what I mean? I'm not even gonna say more times than not. Mostly every time they're gonna make the best.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I wasn't some people, like Kerwin told me to this day, like, man, you should have went to the Math. And we still laugh about it, but my mother made that decision and I don't regret it. You know what I'm saying? It was definitely, I know we're going to get into this more, but it was definitely an adjustment, but it was, I definitely don't regret that decision at all. So
I was going to say, you could go to it now, because that was going to be the next question I asked you, like the adjustment in going to a school like Severn School. I had one of my closest friends, AJ Mann, he went to Severn School.
My man. Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? So I only know it from the perspective of him going. So, but kind of talk about your experience and how it was when you first got in there and got acquainted with that school.
Yeah. So I tell this story a lot. When I first got there, well, one of the good things was that I had already met I had met two of my close friends, my closest friends for this day, Jamal Jones, Dion Peters. We had already met prior to me going to Severn.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Dion had just played on the same AAU team in 8th grade. He came on and played with us for 3D. The summer of before I was going into 9th grade. And I met Jamal. We were playing in the Lake Waterford League that same summer. So once I saw that they were going to Severn, I was like, all right, okay. You know what I mean? There's some familiar faces. And I hadn't even known that Jamal had already, he had been going to Severn since middle school. But that helped a little bit. But just literally my first day, Queen, I remember my first day, I was like, "Ma." Afterwards, I said, "Ma, I don't think I can." I was like, "Oh,
it's different right here, Ma."
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this. You know what I mean? Because it was just so different. And not even from the racial aspect, because I come from Southern Anne Arundel County, so that's majority. That's right. And Anne Arundel County, period, is
you in the mix with it,
right. But just coming from where I was from, I had my entire family went to school. All of my cousins went to. If I didn't go to Severn, I would have went to Southern High School. So all of my family went to Southern High School. All of my cousins, and I was hanging with my older cousins back then. I was in 8th grade. I was hanging with 10th, 11th graders. And I felt comfortable because these were my family. You know what I'm saying? Just going from that to going to a place that's one, majority white, and two, I just really didn't know. I didn't know anyone other than the two people that I had met previous, Jamal and Dion. And then it was a campus atmosphere. So you got to leave one building, go outside to go to another, building for your class. I'm getting lost. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know anybody. You know what I mean? I just felt out of place. And I was like, "Ma, I don't know." She was like, "Man, just give it some time. You'll get adjusted." You know what I'm saying? And she was right. I was able to, to get adjusted to the environment. And overall, it ended up being definitely a good experience. You know what I mean? It was just, whenever you start something, it's an adjustment period.
Yeah, if it's fresh and unknown, you don't really know how to adjust to it at first.
When you're in the unknown, you don't know what's what. So you have to navigate that. Sometimes it takes time.
Could you tell it was like a different class of people? Did it seem like different classes of people out there?
Definitely.
That's something I always knew I would struggle with that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I know it's there and I know it's prevalent, you know what I mean? But was it overwhelming? Did it stick out like that when you got there, or was it something?
I wouldn't say it was overwhelming, but it was definitely noticeable. And it was definitely a noticeable thing, especially me coming from, and this my 9th grade year. This was before I moved, to the northern part of the county to be closer to the school. My 9th grade year, I'm coming from Shadyside every day to get to school. So this is a 40-minute ride. You know what I mean?
Every time.
Yeah, the things that I had to do just to get to school, it was unimaginable to people. I used to have to carpool, switch cars 2 and 3 times to get from Shadyside to Severn every morning. You know what I mean? Yeah. So just that aspect for one, just the ride, just the distance that I had to travel to get to school, that was, in its own was just crazy. And then just like I said, it's the smaller environment. You know what I mean? It's I'm not used to having. I was used to having at least 20 to 25 people in the classroom. You go to having, 8, 9, 10 people. You know what I mean? And then of course you're probably the only one that looks like you in any of the classes. So that it was definitely an adjustment. And then just seeing like you said, the social economic class, you know what I mean? Seeing that and just seeing, you go into some of their house, this is where you live. Mr. Bashotti, Jack Bashotti, his son played on my football. I mean, Mr. Bashotti's son played on my football team. Steve Bashotti, the owner of the Ravens. He's at our games, and people who are really financially well off. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't poor, but just I wasn't that either. I wasn't on. We weren't on that status either. So just seeing that, and
Seeing it.
yeah, like
Seeing it.
really seeing that. It was different, but at the same time, I'm thankful for that because
Yep.
it exposed you to it.
That's what I'm. That's
it shows
there it is, right there.
exactly. So at the end of the day, that's what I was able to gain from that. You know what I mean? I was able to be exposed to those things, and see those different types of classes, and just be around it. And then at the same time, you bringing your story to that, because your story is just as important.
Yes,
yes,
it is.
And
yep.
So it was. I think they got as much out of me as I got out of that school. You know what I'm saying? It was an even trade as far as experience and what we gave and what each of us gave the other. You know what I'm saying? So
ninth grade, you get there, and like you said, from a sport. I mean, from a social perspective, just now we just kind of explained and broke that down. Now we go to the sport aspect. You play football. You said when we're at
actually,
7.
I didn't.
You didn't know that there.
So I started playing football. I started playing football and basketball at the same age, like 6, 7 years old. Once I got to, I want to say like 8th grade, I stopped playing football because that's when I was like really focused on basketball. I was playing all year round at that time. You know,
I did the same thing. I already know.
Exactly. So I was playing. When I was with 3D, we were playing. We were in 2 fall leagues, so we're playing 2 or 3 county games like a week, just because we're in 2 different fall leagues. And then on top of that, in the summertime, you already know we're every weekend we're in a tournament. You know what I mean? 3-4 games a day, all of those sorts of things. So I stopped playing football. And then when I got to 9th grade at Severn, of course, playing basketball, but starting off in the fall, I saw that Dion and Jamal were playing football, and I was like, damn, man, I need to get back on the field. You know what I mean? Just like I saw that, and it made me, it made me miss it.
Wait 1 minute, because I asked everybody this question. And Peters, I know you was in here, and I hope you still watching, and I'm going to ask everybody the same question. Was he really like Adrian Peterson out there?
Yeah.
It was ridiculous?
For sure.
You ain't never seen nothing like it at that point?
I'm going to tell you like this, Queen. So, and this is no exaggeration for me.
9th grade?
Yeah, 9th grade, all through, you know what I mean? But he's one of, Dion Peters is one of the best 2 athletes I've seen with my own eyes in terms of football and basketball. Him and my people's name, Justin Holland, he's from Southern. He's a couple years older than me. But those are the 2 best athletes I've seen as far as football and basketball. Like, they can do either one and just seamlessly with my own 2 eyes. You know what I mean? And but no, yeah, absolutely. He was the one.
Man, they said that man was like Adrian. The couple times I seen him put a couple clips up, it was ridiculous, yo.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's no exaggeration, and that's just being, that's just being honest. Like, It's funny because as I got, it took me a little while to like, yo, he the one, because you know what I'm saying? Because we were all recruited. Like, okay, myself, Jamal was already at Severn, Dion. You know what I'm saying? Like, me and Dion were brought in. We were recruited for basketball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't know Dion played football. And I didn't know that Dion Peters, Jamal Jones, Kerwin Porter, that
they played with it together.
I had no idea. Me and Kerwin played for Savannah Park for AAU when we were since like 11 years old. So I've known him for a while. I didn't know that they knew each other for that long.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Dion was just as nice at football as he was at basketball. You know what I'm saying?
Incredible.
So, me coming in just as a, I'm strictly focusing on basketball, and I'm like, this guy's different. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is really different. So it took me a while to like kind of come to grips with that, but like, you just have to.
You have to. At that, when you see it, it's like, all right, you got it. Yo, go ahead.
You have to, and that's just something like I said, man. I know what I can do. You know what I'm saying? I know what I'm capable of, and I know what I bring to any team that I was a part of. You know what I'm saying? But you also just have to acknowledge, like, yeah, that's the guy. You know what I mean? Like, that's the one. So, but to answer your question, yes, he was. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, I just had to get that out there, throw that out there real quick. And Peters, you better come on. Just come on the show so we can talk about it.
Shout out to Pete.
But like I said, we want to get back to your point. You said you saw them playing football, but you still didn't make that commitment to get back on the field, and you focused on basketball. So were you more so just kind of gearing up to just be ready to play basketball throughout the high school career, starting in 9th grade?
So initially, yeah, I was just gonna play basketball. But then after my 9th grade year, and I just saw I saw the JV team. Deanna Jamal was on the JV team. They probably should have played varsity in 9th grade, but you know what I'm saying? They went 9-0, 10-0, and I'm like, man, I need to get back on the field, though. Like you know what I'm saying? Once you see people who are doing it, and I started playing both sports at the same age, so that's when 10th grade is when I picked football back up. So
okay,
I started, I played football. I started back playing football my sophomore year. We went. Where did we go? I think we went 9-0, 10-0. But I was on 10th grade JV since I didn't play my freshman year.
mm-hmm.
They had to put me on JV for my sophomore year. So we went 10-0, and so yeah. Then I kept I picked playing football back up.
Okay. Okay. So you're juggling through sports after 10th grade. Would you say you were more so kind of locked in on sports, or more so school, or was it split in half still?
No, I was still split. I mean, it was just, I knew I couldn't have one without the other. You know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't at Severn, like you can't just, I mean, everybody plays a sport at Severn, but your academics that's your number one priority. You know what I'm saying? So I know that I have to be in the books, and I have to do my thing in the classroom. I'm not even saying that I was a super stellar student. I did good, but just, I just took it serious. You know what I mean? I know that this is the vehicle that I have to take in order to get a higher education. You know what I'm saying? So just taking school serious. I'm not saying I was like I said, I didn't graduate with a 4.0 or nothing like that, but just, I wanted to do well. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to do good in school. Like, I just didn't want to be an athlete, but, not be known for doing his thing in the classroom. You know what I'm saying? I definitely wanted to be known for both things. So
the reason why I asked that, and I asked, like I said, I asked everybody this question, like along this time, like 9th and 10th grade, it's kind of when you're kind of figuring out who you are as a young man. You know what I'm saying? You're figuring yourself out, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. And the thing that's kind of reoccurring is you always had this plan. You always had the foresight to know that you're going to get a higher education.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, it's kind of already been answered, but at this time, how serious and to what depths were you thinking about college? Did you have one in mind? Did you have a major in mind?
I don't think I had a college foresight in mind. Well, like I said, when I was in like 8th grade, I thought I was going to college to play.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to school for basketball. So I had my eyes on. I was setting my sights high. Like I said, I wanted to play at Temple. I was looking at, Georgetown.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. I gotta ask these questions.
It
kind of formulates, and you can kind of get a picture of where this person is because of these type of thoughts that are formulated at this time.
Right.
So it's not I'll be asking, like, and people will say, like, man, I had the Georgetowns and the Dukes. Like,
man, of course. Like those schools were definitely places that, you setting your sights high. You want to hoop. You want to be on a team. You want to play D1. Of course, I mean, if you're playing a sport and you're good at your sport, you want to go to the highest level. You know what I'm saying? So that was always something that I aspired to do. Yep. But I also knew realistically, I have to have a real plan in terms of like what I want to do in order to be a successful person and to make a good living and to be a well-rounded individual. So
To kind of,
what
one
didn't
second, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, wait.
this is the meat and the potatoes to that question. What was it that you saw, or what was it that you went through that kept you geared on that and that alone? You see what I'm saying? Because for me, as an example, like for me, the only reason why college was in my sights at all is because I had a brother that went to college.
Right.
I've seen it from my own eyes. I went down there and I saw it. I visualized it. And once I saw that, I knew it's like, okay, you can go to college. You know what I'm saying? And this is how you got to do this, and this is how you got to do that. But what was it for you that you saw or kept you on track or kind of led you to get to where you got to that mindset? Because you're talking about this from elementary school on to 10th grade now. This is from like middle school on. This is a constant thought. So what was who laid that thought? Who laid that plan out for you? What was it?
That's a good question. And it wasn't anything in particular. Of course, my mother instilled that, just getting a good education. But honestly, it was just me saying, like, I've always just wanted to be just well-rounded. I've always looked at myself as like, I don't consider myself as ever being the best at anything, but I've just been good at a lot of things. So I take pride in just wanting to be well-rounded. And even as a youngster, like, one of the superlatives that I won, like, most well-rounded in the 8th grade. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I was still at Southern High School, like, that's one of the superlatives that I won in the yearbook and shit. So I just looked at that like, yo, I want to, like, just be good at everything. Like, I can be a good athlete, I can be a good student, and I know the combination of those things can propel me to something greater. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether it be college, like, whatever it is, I know that the combination of those two can propel me to something. So I don't want to be just an athlete. I'd be one of the best athletes, but I can't play because I'm ineligible. You know what I'm saying? And I've seen that with a lot of players, a lot of my friends, a lot of people that we know who are great athletes. The books is what tripped them up. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something that, and I just like, no, that's not, because you can't, you're not going to be able to show your talent on the court or on the field if you're ineligible. Yep. That's plain and simple. 1 + 1 = 2. You know what I'm saying? So if you can't pour that 2.0 or whatever, like, that's you're not playing. You know what I'm saying?
I learned that the hard way, my 9th grade.
And literally, and you and me both, when we've seen people, that's been their downfall. Just, man, I ain't, and then you don't want to hear that story. Like, you hear that story, like, man, so and so was better than him, but he ain't had the grades, and he ain't. All right, so whose fault is that? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't, if you saying that, but you saying that you're not on the court right now. That person got the grades, so he getting the looks. He's getting, you know what I mean? You can't be mad at that person, or can't be bitter towards whoever handles what they have to handle in order to, and then they on the field and doing their thing. Yeah, you might be better than them, but you're saying that from the sideline. You're not even competing because
couldn't handle
your situation. You know,
your business.
Exactly. Like, and that's something that you should. I don't know. Like, that's, for me, that's just something I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to be a good student. I'm not, like I said, I'm not no 4.0 type, but just I want to be more than just an athlete. Like, always, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be known for more than just, my talents on the court or on the field. So,
facts. Okay, so I just, the main reason why I ask those type of questions, and it's kind of like it's kind of like just to hear, like I said, just to kind of get the gauge. And you said something that's very, 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 very important, and it was like, you look around and you see examples of the things that people have went through, whether they've been ineligible or they've been getting caught up in social things or in the streets or whatever the case may be. And you see them get tripped up, and we see that around this way a lot. You know what I mean? Not to say that I haven't done the same or been close and tripped up at certain points or whatever, but it's just certain things at certain times you see it and you just kind of get yourself away from it. The main reason why I asked that is because we say separate yourself at the end of every show. So I feel like at this point, the separation for you was just understanding. Would you be able to, you know what I mean? You
Absolutely.
understood early, and you separate yourself in that aspect, and that's kind of a different approach than anybody else on here, because I have sports people on here a lot,
Right.
a lot of athletes. So I
Yeah.
just kind of get, I mean, not to say you're not an athlete, you know
Right.
what I'm saying? Just
Right.
get that
Right.
clear.
Right.
Like you say, you got it in
Yeah.
out there, you feel me?
Absolutely.
But it's more so like they'll talk about, you know what I mean? I had to go and bust my ass in the gym for this amount of hours, or I had to go do this or do that. But you just had the level of understanding and wanting to be well-rounded in all aspects, and that's very commendable. I respect that a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. So to get to the next point, and like I said, you're getting to know yourself 9th and 10th grade. Now at 11th and 12th, you can kind of talk about both, you know what I mean, going into 12th once we talk about it.
So 11th grade is I'm I played varsity football. I mean, played varsity basketball at 10th grade. So this would be my junior year playing, my second year playing varsity basketball, first year playing varsity football. Had good seasons. Definitely had good seasons in both. Basketball, I did, I did well, but I didn't, I wasn't as consistent as I wanted to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
So that was one of my flaws. I didn't play at my consistent highest each game as I should. I said, but both seasons we did well. Basketball, football, we I think we split our championship with one or two other teams. It was the MIAAB conference, so it was a small conference, but we were real competitive. So I think we split the football championship. I can't remember. It was either with Curly or St. Paul. I can't remember. And then basketball, we made it to the championship for our conference. Lost in the championship to Gilman. And that hurts till this day. They had Reggie Fusion on the team. That was back during that time. You know what I'm saying? Reggie Fusion played for. I want to say he played for like Baltimore Stars. Played for the Cowboys. So he was. They had a big boy. Like he was a presence in the middle for basketball. We didn't. We didn't really have we didn't have a
big people there.
You know what I'm saying? But we had beat them like so in the season we split with them. They beat us. We beat them at home and they beat us away. And then we met in the finals, you know what I'm saying, the championship, and we lost, you know what I'm saying? But people knew what was up with us. That was we were forced to be reckoned with. I think that year we were ranked in the county. I think we were ranked maybe 4th in the county. We had a big game against Severna Park, I want to say in January. This was, like I said, my junior year, and and it was a big game just because they're our rival, they're our public school rival. Their school is 2 to 3 times bigger than ours, and the schools are in walking distance of each other. You know what I'm saying? So and I think they were at the time they were ranked in the county and we weren't. And it was it's the whole storyline behind it is crazy because our Coach Tank, he graduated from Severna Park. So he wanted to beat them more than anything. You know what I'm saying?
I forgot about Coach Tank.
Yeah, man, Coach Tank was a problem.
I forgot about Coach Tank, man. That's funny.
Yeah. So we we went up, we went there, we played them there, and we handled our business. We got the dub, you know what I'm saying? That was like one of the biggest moments I had in my high school athletic career. Like I had my page, my picture on the front page of the sports section, like for that game. And then we got ranked in the county after that. You know what I'm saying? So we never really we didn't play too many county teams. I wish we played more just to see where we stood on a competitive level with a lot of the different county teams. But yeah, that year went to the championship, lost to Gilman. I think we lost maybe by like 8 or 9, something like that. So yeah, that was tough. So so then the following year, I was like, you know what, man, this summer, I'm going out and I'm getting better. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting better this summer. So the summer before my senior year, I played in the Lake Waterford League. I did my thing out there. And then, my Coach Tank and his brother, who was our assistant coach, Coach James Duckett, they sent me to the Eastern Invitational. So I was like, you know what, man, they sending me out here.
It's time to go.
Whatever's what I'm, you know what I'm saying? I'm
time to get busy.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? And, it was funny. I didn't know a lot about like those high level camps like that. I went out there towards the end of the summer. But like the best competition comes at the beginning of the summer, like beginning the middle of the summer. They have like three different times for their camps or whatever. But I went at the end, and it was still shit. I played against Corey Fisher, scored 101 points at the Rucker. You know what I'm saying? So still competition there. And I did my thing, and I was like, look, I held my own with these guys. So when the season comes, it's we on. Right. It's going down when the season comes. But senior season, football season, we got a round robin scrimmage at Severna Park playing, football, tear my ACL playing football.
Oh my God.
So, so that I was out my entire senior year. Didn't get to play basketball, didn't get to play football or basketball my senior season. You know what I'm saying? So that was devastating. It was, it hurt. It really was.
You know what though? I'm gonna tell you something crazy about that though. Like, I understand that you said it hurts, but at the end of the day, with somebody that had your mind frame, did it hurt as bad knowing what you had in your back pocket in that school?
True.
Like, I mean, like, I'm thinking about it from the perspective now, just knowing how you were and just how you explained it. It's like somebody like me, I'm done.
I'm
done. For sure. Catch me at 7-Eleven University from now on. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm done. But you have the wherewithal, and like I said, to be able to navigate and know that. I feel like, you know what I mean? To me, that was something that you were able, not even easily, but you were able to navigate through it a little bit better because of that.
Yeah, for sure. And it was, that was something that, now that this has happened to me, of course it's unfortunate, but now I definitely have to go, I have to put more of myself into, getting into school. And this is definitely a top priority for me now. Even like, but prior to me, getting injured, I still wanted to go to school for sport. I still wanted to play ball. If I could play ball at wherever, you know what I'm saying, like at small D3 or whatever, I'd have went. If I was getting recruited, I'm going. You know what I'm saying? But like all things happen for a reason, and it was a blessing in disguise, because if that were to happen, I may have hooped at whatever school, D2 school, D3 school, but I may not have been able to get into, had the things that I was able to do. Like, I may not have been able to experience Howard University or get to those, to see those types of things and have those types of experiences.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, and that's the thing. Like when I was like still playing, I wasn't really as focused on getting, as far as like filling out college applications and going through the process of actually getting into school. I was kind of lazy with that. I was kind of lollygagging with that. I just figured like, all right, man, I'm gonna get picked up by a school, somebody, you know what I'm saying, something like that. But then once I got injured, I was like, damn, I really gotta you know what I'm saying, put some pep in my step to like, I want to go to school. So if I want to go to school, and that's something my mother was like, Darren, like, she was like, if you want to go to school, like, what are you doing? Like, you're not filling out no application. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to like take this serious if you want to go. So that's when I started like, putting it in my mind, like, okay, like, I'm not going to school for no sport. I just was realistic. I'm injured. You know what I'm saying? Like, I only had like a couple colleges reach out to me, like 1 or 2 schools reach out to me. So like, you got to be realistic. So figure out where you want to go to school, why you want to go there, and put forth the effort in trying to and to get to those to get in. So that's what I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
That right there, that's a beautiful plan right there, dog. And it's so wild because, like you say, like if you don't take the necessary steps to do that, your whole trajectory is just different.
Yeah.
don't make those established connections that you have now. It's just totally different. But before I go to that next level, I wanted to ask you two questions. The first question is, what is one of the main things that you learned from your time at Severn School? Looking back now, what is one thing that you think like you really learned from that experience going there, your high school career?
One of the things I've learned, one of the best things I learned at Severn, I would say, is to apply yourself. You know what I'm saying? Definitely apply yourself. You have to. Nothing's gonna come without effort, and without you putting forth the necessary effort and trying and putting your best foot forward. You know what I'm saying? And I would say Severn was able to teach me how to maneuver in different rooms. Like, you know what I mean? And I say that like I can feel just as comfortable in a room full of people who look like me because I've been there. You know, I've been to a school where people who look like me. I've had that experience. But I can also feel just as comfortable in a room where I may be one of the only people who look like me in the room. You know, yep. Of course, I'm going to notice that more. I'm going to notice that, all right, I'm one of the only ones in here. But I'm still able to articulate well. I'm still able to, you know what I'm saying, put my best foot forward, be personable, and show people regardless of what room I'm in, okay, that's he knows what he's talking about, he knows what he's doing, and he's an asset in whatever room I'm in. I think I add value, and I think that's something that that Severn I was able to take from Severn, and just apply that to different parts of my life, because I've been in rooms, like I said, where I was the only one who looked like me, but I've also been in rooms where it's a lot of me, yep. And either way, I feel comfortable maneuvering those spaces. So.
Okay, that was part one of that, just to kind of conclude the high school. And the second part of it is from the athletic, because that was more so socially and academically. So from the athletic standpoint, because you got down and you played and seen a lot of things from a basketball perspective, who would you say were the top 5 players from your era in high school?
Ooh.
And on the court?
So the players who were in high school when I was in high school?
Yeah, just like your era, your general era, like maybe somebody that might have been a year out of school, like, you know what I mean, a year ahead of you, you know what I mean? Or
okay,
in your era, you know what I'm saying?
Let me try. I would say Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay was 2 years older than me. So when I was, no, he's a year older than me. So when I was a junior, he was a senior. And we all know what he went to do. You know what I'm saying? So I would say him. I say Dion. I say Dion Peters.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? I gotta say my man Justin Highland. He was 2 years older than me. My man from down the way from Southern. I would say him.
Is that Drew's Peoples? Justin Highland?
It's like we all grew up together.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But down the line there,
yeah. Okay.
But we all, me and Justin known each other since we was since I was 6, he was 8. You know what I'm saying? So,
yep.
I would say him. Probably throw KP in there. I say Kerwin. You know what I'm saying? And 5th, man, it was a lot of people who was wreaking havoc in the county when I was in the county.
That's always the problem with that 5th one. They could never pick the 5th one.
You know what? I'm gonna say what's his name? And if you ask Jamal or Dion, they can attest to this. My man from St. Paul's, his name was Jason Caldwell. His name was Jason Caldwell. He went to St. Paul's, and he actually ended up going to Fordham University to play football. And that's he was a sophomore putting up, you talking about 20, 30 a game. One of the fastest players I ever seen. And then he was he went to St. Paul's, but he went to St. Paul's in Baltimore, but he was from I want to say West Baltimore. They got a crazy story. You know? And it was funny because a lot of people don't know, but he had a nub. Like one of his index finger was cut off. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he ran the point, and man, he was just so fast, so quick. And I remember just seeing him play for the first time. I was like, yo, who is this cat? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Just from my conference, I hadn't seen it. You know what I mean? So I would throw him in there. And that's just, but I say that just off the top of my head, but there's so many players. You know, you could Corey Henderson, Mitch Guest, my cousin Andrew Holland, you know what I'm saying? Like he was one of them ones too. So it was so many, it was so many people, dog.
Okay.
Those are just the ones that I could.
Yeah. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. You threw names that I didn't. No, nobody's really throwing out. A couple of them was like I had those names in there, but you know that last one is definitely going to throw a loop in there. So I'm gonna look at
it. He was one of the ones, yo. I'm telling you, straight up.
Okay. So now we've concluded high school and you've got your sights set on colleges. What colleges did you have in mind, and what ultimately led you to choose the college that you chose?
So, college that I had in mind. So at Severn, this was one of the kind of like one of their cardinal rules. There was like when you're applying to colleges, you apply to 6 schools, 2 that you know that you're going to get into, 2 that are kind of like, you know, whatever, iffy. It may depend on the SAT score or whatever, and then 2 that you know may be kind of far fetched for you. So I applied to a few different schools. I applied to Temple. I applied to, I want to say, James Madison. I applied to Clark Atlanta University.
Woo!
Applied to Morehouse. I applied to Howard, of course, and I applied to this school called, it was University of Rochester, because they were one of the only schools that like reached out to me and like kind of recruited me. They saw me playing AAU. I played for, and I should have mentioned, I played like prior to my senior year. I played for Mays for AAU. So you know, me, Ray Bush, Andrew Holland, Ryan Parker, a bunch of those guys. So they saw me play and they reached out. So I applied to them as well. So those were the main schools I applied to. And I chose, well, I mean, of course you apply, you got to get in. So I wasn't sure as to what schools. It depended on who was going to accept me as to what, you know, to weigh my options. But my senior year, we had I had a business math teacher, his name, young black guy named Mr. Kennedy, and he took us on. He took us to a Howard homecoming. This was like my senior year, no bullshit. He took me, he took Dion, he took Jamal, me, Dion Peters, Jamal Jones, my man Jamon. Shout out to Jamon if he's watching. Jamon Bocage, he just got married last year. Great dude. He was like he was our manager for varsity basketball. He kept the school book and all that. And my man Tion Johnson from Annapolis. All of us went to Severn, you know, and all of us were close. He took us to a Howard homecoming, and I was like, look, this is, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is where I think this is a spot where I need to be. You know
need to be there.
Yeah, so that's when my eyes were set from then on. And then after that, you know, I took a few tours. I had a cousin who went there, and she took me on a tour. Of course, loved it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, you know what, I think this is where my first choice is going to be. And I took the SATs and did everything, and ended up getting in. I remember reading the letter at my. I used to work at Athlete's Foot my senior year in high school. I used to work at Athlete's Foot. Athlete's Foot was in Annapolis Mall. I remember reading that letter like at Athlete's Foot and just like going crazy in the store because, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how, if I was going to be accepted, whatever. And they they ended up taking me. So from then on, it was
snap right in the middle of the store.
Of course, no No thought at
And
all.
that's when that joint was in the cut too, so you could just snap that was in the cut. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Only the real. If you was in the old Annapolis Mall before the old,
for sure.
That was in the cut.
Come on, man.
Get some heat up out of there too, for real, because everybody rushing to the.
Of course,
you gotta really be in Annapolis Mall.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But that's that right there. That feeling right there is probably overwhelming, man. And I couldn't even imagine in being in the presence of something like that. It had to be something that was just,
man, it was.
You're talking about it now, but it's still indescribable. You know what I'm saying? Probably.
Absolutely.
So, looking at it from that perspective, man, and going there. I already had to have the adjustment of going to one demographic.
Yeah.
Now you go here.
Exactly. So that's funny because that one of the reasons I went to Howard was because I came from a school with, most damn near all of the people didn't look like me. You know what I'm saying? And I had a great experience at Severn, but it's just, just having to, those microaggressions, just having to explain yourself more and people not relating to, your background, where you come from, all of those small things, you know what I'm saying? And just, I got to a point like, man, I want to be in an environment where people look like me and where, and they sound like me, we can relate to all of the same things. But at the same time, we're still chasing the goal of getting our education. You know what I'm saying? Like this. Well, let me fast forward a little bit because one of my cousins, his wife, we were speaking about this one time, and she made such a dope statement, and it makes so much sense. She was like, I feel like every Black person needs to have a Black experience where you're around the people that look like you, whether that be the neighborhood that you live in, the church that you go to, the school that you go to, your job. You need to have an experience where, where you're the majority. You know what I'm saying? Because it'll help you frame things different, and it'll help you, not be as standoffish with your own people. You know what I'm saying? So years later, when she said that, it made so much sense, and because that was one of the reasons I wanted to go to. I made a point to go to Howard because, of course, I'm around my family, like, you know what I mean. But just being around people who are like-minded, of the same age and the same values, and we're chasing the common goal of bettering ourselves and getting to higher education. It's crazy to see. It's a beautiful thing to see. You know what I'm saying?
Because of the and I swear, why you saying it, like I'm just sitting here like, yeah, bro, like, because coming from where we come from, you has never been a point even before you went to Severn where you were just around that many.
Yeah, you were never the majority
on that level,
right? On that level,
getting to that level. And I never, like you said something about Clark, and the reason why, you know what I mean, I did the Nori like that is because a couple years ago I had moved to Atlanta. My homeboy graduated from Clark Atlanta,
right?
And like I said, my brother went to Morehouse. When I told you my brother, I had the college. So I was 7, 8 years old, walking the streets at night around Morehouse, not understanding at all to do it 20 years later.
Right. And knowing what it means now. I
was like, man, I should have never, ever in my life thought about going to college nowhere else but at HBCU.
Yeah, and that's the only reason why I didn't I would have considered Morehouse way more. It's just I never got a tour. I didn't get a chance to tour the school. But if I got a chance to tour the school, who knows?
Clark either? You didn't get the chance to tour Clark either?
I didn't get a chance to tour Clark. I mean,
man, listen, I'm gonna tell you, if you would have went down there,
I've been there. Like when we were seniors, we went on the same group of it was me, Dion, Jamal, my man Jamon, Tion, and Coach Duckett and Mr. Kennedy. They took us on a civil rights tour. So we went throughout a lot of different cities in the South, and we went to a lot of the different churches. We went to a few of the churches that Dr. King spoke at leading up to his assassination. So we were in Memphis, we were in Atlanta, we were in Mississippi, like we were in Clarksville, Mississippi. We went through all of these like different cities. So when we were in Atlanta, we were able to walk around the Clark Atlanta campus and see. So I know what it's about, and I got cousins, one of my cousins went there. So I know what's up. It's just I wasn't able to get an official tour at Morehouse. So that's why, I didn't they weren't like high on my list, you know what I'm saying?
No, I feel you totally, man. Yeah. But to kind of talk about and expound on what you were saying as far as being in that presence, I wanted to talk about that because until you actually are in it, like the person that told you need to be around and in it, you will never, ever, ever understand how that really, really, really feels.
You're absolutely right.
Like,
you can explain it.
It's everybody's like, it's not to say that everybody is just perfectly with you or whatever, but it's a lot more comfortable to navigate in a situation where this person doesn't have an ulterior motive.
Absolutely.
Because of this color of their skin or because of the class or whatever the case may be,
Absolutely. And that, that's to wake up and go and be on campus every morning and you see, all right, they got the same goals I got. They look they look like me and they have the same goals I have as far as attaining a higher education and doing something dope in the world beyond this. I wasn't surrounded by that. You know what I mean? Coming up, like I had my family, of course, and I'm very extremely close to my family, so I had that Black experience. But seeing people who who you don't know, but they look like you, and they're looking and they're striving for the same goal, there's something powerful in that. You know what I'm saying? Really, really powerful in that. So just being exposed to it, and seeing it on a daily basis. It does, it does something to your psyche. You know what I mean? Like this is what Black excellence looks like. It's what people who look like you but got a head on their shoulders and striving to do something. This is it manifested. You know what I'm saying? So no, it was incredible experience. Absolutely.
Okay. And you wound up staying there for 4 years and graduating on time.
Yeah. Yep. And that's one thing that I also saw how I saw people, well, just I don't even want to say how, just college period. Like people fall in love with college. Like in terms of, you know what I'm saying? You see people there at 6 years and shit like that. I'm like, nah, you know what I'm saying? Like I get it, like this is dope. And this is the closest thing to what a dream is, but
Gotta grow.
I'm full and I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not.
The reason why I said on time is because it's hard to do. Like you got to think about it though. Like not from that perspective, because I'm thinking about it. Like I said, obviously from an athlete's perspective. So from an athlete's perspective, it's kind of hard. So to hear somebody do it in 4 years, to me, it's like, man, you was on that tip for real. Like you was really, locked in.
Right, but also everybody does things at their own pace. So what I mean by it's like I didn't take any time off. Like some people because I got people who they took their time getting their degree, but they still got it. And like that's great to do. There's nothing wrong with that. Like there's people they go for a semester. All right, I'm gonna take the semester off and work. I might need to raise some money, like what I'm saying, whatever their situation is, but they continue on to get it. So in no way am I knocking. I'm talking about people who fall in love with the atmosphere of college, so they kind of stray away from what the main objective is. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like the Van Wilders and shit. Like you in college for like 6-7 years. Like if you you can take your time to get your degree, but you also have to be productive while you're doing that. You got to take a semester off, and all right, take a semester off, but you working and you come back and then you piece everything together until you get it. I'm talking about the people who, like I said, who were in college like 5, 6, 7 years and just like you just bullshitting through. Like that's not, you know what I mean? I know what my objective is. I got to do my 4. I got to get out and continue on with my life. You know what I'm saying? So
okay. So now you go ahead and graduate from there. And what did you graduate? What degree did you get from there?
Psychology. I got and psychology degree.
Okay. You got a psych degree.
Yeah.
My homeboy from Clark Atlanta just got his psych degree as well, man. That's first of all, that's congratulations on that. Even though it's long gone, that's a commendable feat for sure. So you take it up another notch after that, and you wind up going to another school.
Yeah. So I graduated 2009. I worked for a little bit. And then I was like, I gotta. It was I knew I had to I knew I had to go back to school. Just because I wanted to become just more competitive in the work field. And I know, like, having a degree is cool, but I wanted to kind of, just like you said, I don't even want to say separate myself, but just make myself more competitive in the work
field. You found a way to compete without the sport. You did it within the grasp of what you were dealing with, and you knew that you had to get to another level.
Right, for sure.
Where you wanted to go. It's not like necessarily a bar, but you knew you wanted to get to, so you had to do what you had to do.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So I went to and it's funny because we go back to take it back to the friendship that I made when I was, as a kid playing basketball all the way up to now. One of my closest friends, Brian Parker.
Yeah.
He's the one who convinced me to go.
Now I know where this ready to go. Yes, sir.
Yeah, he called me. Like, this is no lie, right? He called me one Friday night. This was what, maybe like 2010, I want to say, maybe like, I don't know, like spring, summer 2010. And he gave me a call, and I hadn't heard from him in a while. So you know how, like, sometimes when a person calls you that you may not have heard from, they're calling for a reason. You just
they calling you.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I just kind of sensed that because I had heard from him in a minute.
Yep.
And he was like, look, Darren, he's like, look, I know you're thinking about going back to Howard for grad school. But he was like, just come up here with me. He was like, I'm at UConn. Come up with me. Stay here with me for a few days. I'll show you around the campus. I'll let you meet some of the teachers, whatever. And then from there, make a decision from there. You know what I'm saying? I was like, all right. You know what I mean? Like, because he's calling me for a reason. This is something I've never, ever had any thought on going to Connecticut ever in my life. Like, ever. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, this is something I can just, I can do. So we made the arrangements. I went up there with him, stayed with him for maybe like 3 or 4 days. And he showed me around, showed me the city, talked to some of the professors. And I was like, man, you know what? Because I had never, up until that point, I had never like been away from home, like really been away from home.
Yeah.
Like, I've always been
away, but that ain't away. We can go there.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? I had never been away from like Maryland, DC area. So I was like, this would give me a chance to, you know what I'm saying? Like, go up here. I can, get my degree, but I can also like have the experience of really like living on my own and, you know what I'm saying, doing that in a new city, in a whole new city. So I still commend him for that till this day, like for getting me up there. Because if it wasn't for that phone call, I would have probably went back to Howard and just got my master's at Howard. You know what I'm saying? But which is still good, but I wouldn't have had the experience of just living somewhere else and having that, just having that experience living on my own, like really living on my own. You know what I'm saying? So I ended up going to UConn, to University of Connecticut. And I was up there from 2011 to from the fall of 2011 to the summer of 2013. And I got my master's in social work up there. So great experience. Great experience. You know what I'm saying?
Tremendous feat. Again, that's just that's you know what I mean. It's not a lot of times you had these conversations with guys that even look like us. I mean, in our circle, in our community, where we from, that we can talk about this type of things, and you have that under your belt. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So you leave from there. Do you wind up going back to another situation, or did you wind up kind of working in the work?
No, so after that, I just, I was like, I'm home. I'm gonna just start my career. You know what I mean? So I started. Took me a couple months to find like a job in my field and with my degree in my career, but I was able to start. I started off working for the state of Maryland, for the Department of Education. It's It's an agency called it's called DORS, DORS, but it stands for Division of Rehabilitation Services. So that's where I first started in my career from grad school, and we were we provided job development services and paying for job development services for people with disabilities who wanted to get back into the workforce. You know what I'm saying? So we would fund like job coaching and sending them to school and whatever different types of things they needed to help them get a job. We funded those things. You know what I'm saying? So that was my first like career job out of grad school, and I was there for about almost 3 years, and I learned a ton, and I was exposed to a ton, and that just helped. That helped me. That job helped me so much in getting into where I'm at now. You know what I mean? So, absolutely.
That's what's up, man. And it seems like you say you got your master's in social work, and you seem to want to help people. Like that's just, you know what I mean. You want to give back in that form and fashion, and people don't understand how hard it is in that field, because people look at it like you're dealing with people, but at the end of the day, sometimes you wear those emotions home. Like sometimes
absolutely.
You get attached to certain situations and be emotionally attached to
for sure
people that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So I know that was very tough, and to come straight out the gate from masters and have to do that. I'm sure it was a very good wake-up call to what you were dealing with, what you were ready to get to.
For sure. That's one. When I was in college, I always said, I didn't know what I wanted to do in terms of like a job, but I just knew whatever I was doing, I wanted to like help people. Like what, you know what I'm saying? Like whatever like job I took, I wanted to feel like I was making a difference and helping somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So that always led me in that direction as far as like social service. I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to, like I said, to help people along the way. So that was.
You're still continuously doing that too. So
I appreciate it.
For sure. And I know this the basis of what we was talking about. This is the reason why I had you on and got this memoir in my hands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My man is an author out here.
For sure, man.
Get the information to get this book right here.
Yeah.
And no doubt. All right. But the reason why, and I strategically asked you the questions I asked you, to kind of get the full spectrum. It's going to make sense now at this point, while we circled around and I asked a lot of these questions and we've been here for so long. This book right here is it's a memoir dedicated to the days that you spent behind bars.
Right.
There was nowhere in this whole interview, nowhere, that you had talked about trouble, that you talked about veering off the path. There has been no interactions with people, and I'm sure there might have been, but there has been no concentrated talk about a traumatic event of getting in trouble or anything.
Right.
So when I seen this book, I was like, you know what? This is a book that's for somebody like me.
Mm-hmm.
In and around chaos, been on the scene, you know what's going on.
Right.
But I have never had I've never had the experience going, you know what I mean?
Right. Being there. Right.
So when I seen it, I'm like, yo, this right here is something different. And I wanted to kind of, you know what I mean, before I ask you a couple questions about this, I wanted to kind of
get into
your take on what's made you write this book. When you were there, I mean, because obviously it came from when you were there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you have visions of making this into, or actually talk about the book itself so they have background knowledge? Then I'll ask that question.
Yeah, all right, cool. So the book is called 30 for 30, The Writings Behind the Wall, a journal of Jennifer Rose Detention Center. So as my man said, unfortunately, last year, from March 15th to April 16th, I was incarcerated. I did, a little over a month in Jennifer Rose Detention Center, the county facility in Anne Arundel County in Annapolis, Maryland. So I wrote it because, just like you said, none of us are angels. Don't get it twisted. We're not, you know what I mean? We all have done things that have been involved in situations, but we, at the end of the day, I feel like none of us the people that I surround myself with, the people that I know, and myself included, we don't live lifestyles that will warrant us to be in a place like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're all, for the most part, law-abiding citizens. We try to stay out of trouble. We're taxpayers. We go to work. You know what I'm saying? We take care of our responsibilities. So you don't look at people like that and say like, oh yeah, I could see that person in jail. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't sell drugs. I don't rob people. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't do anything that you think would land me.
You're not in the mix. You're not in the mix of those things.
Yeah,
that
not right.
be locked up.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So, so when I found myself there, I was like, you know, this is something that I really feel like I just need to document, because I know the people who know me know that, like, oh, Darren was where, like, he was, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was in, I can't even see that, you know what I mean? So I felt like I just needed to keep a record of it, for one of those purposes, just because, like, people wouldn't believe me if I told them, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to just to keep a documented account of that experience. And like I said, writing it from a perspective of a person who's, you know, I've done good things, achieved good things. I've been able to do good things, been exposed to a lot, seen a lot, traveled a lot. You know what I'm saying? So to write it from a perspective of a person who you wouldn't think would be there. You know what I mean? So that was what my mindset was, just keeping a record of everything. And then, you know, when I got out, I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna put this out. And you know, it's funny because a lot of people don't know this. So when I got out, right, my girl, she bought me a book. Matter of fact, hold on. My girl bought me this book, right? This is a book by Little Wayne, called Gone to November. And he did the same thing when he was locked up in Rikers Island. He kept a journal of every day, like his day-to-day, like, occurrences while he was inside.
Mm-hmm.
So I already had the idea of doing that. You know, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna just put it out and just see. But then once I got that book, I was like, man, I'm definitely putting this shit out now. You know what I'm saying? Just because, like, I'm not comparing myself to Wayne at all, but like, if there's an audience for that, like, and I feel like people, like I said, I think people would want to hear what I have to say. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
you know, well known in the area, whatever, and I just, you know what I'm saying, have a decent amount of supporters and just people who, you know, if I do something, they'll watch and tune in to see what's going on. So I'm like, man, you know, I'm gonna just that just gave me more of an incentive, more motivation to put it out. So so yeah, once I got out, I literally took my journal from when I was in jail, a composition book, and I just typed it all out. And I added, I added more things just to add more substance and to make it read better. You know what I'm saying? But everything that I wrote, it was true. Everything happened when I was in there, and it's all coming from my perspective. You know what I'm saying? From the things that I saw to the things that I did. Everything in there is a personal account. You know what I'm saying? So.
Right, man. It was, like I said, it was something, like you said, like the audience for it. Like, there's definitely an audience for it, because there's so many people out here that aren't in the mix and wouldn't even think about having to, you know what I mean, deal with a situation like that. So to have it with somebody that you wouldn't, like you said, you wouldn't think, and you say your name, somebody wouldn't even attach that to it. It'd be the last thing.
No, what you just said is exactly, like, that's the literal reason why, because you wouldn't attach me to something like that. Exactly. So I wanted to write it for people, you know what I'm saying, for that reason, because I wouldn't attach myself to it. So I found myself in this place that's just so foreign to me and just so unlike my day-to-day life. So I just wanted to keep a record of it.
Thanks.
And yeah, just writing it from a perspective of a person who, you know, whose lifestyle doesn't warrant them being in a place like that.
Not at all. Not at all. Doesn't warrant it at all. I just, like, you know what I mean? Even just seeing it, man, it was just like, Like what?
Right,
So
exactly.
I had to.
Right.
So that created like I had to see. You know, what I
Yeah,
mean? See it
for
from your
sure.
perspective. You know what I
But
mean?
but that's also that also goes to show that, one mistake,
Sure.
any one of us, you know what I'm saying, we could be there. And that's
Yeah.
another thing. Like I, I'm our daily lives are so far removed from it, but at the same time, one mistake or one slip up, any one of us could be in a place like that we thought we could never imagine ourselves being. So we're so far removed, but still so close at the same time. You know what I mean?
So the main one of the points that I kind of highlighted in here was it's a little late. It's on page 118 when you kind of talked about being in limbo with your job.
Yeah,
Now, the thing about it that was like kind of ill to me was, and this is how you know it was like literally no, you should be not even attributed to the word jail. It's like a dude in jail is not necessarily thinking that way. Like that's
right,
not what he's thinking about.
right.
You see what I'm saying? And it was more so of the fact that you didn't want to lose your livelihood behind a
Yeah,
mistake like
yeah,
that. And I really, it wasn't until that point, this art, I mean, it's been a lot of stuff that kind of could have been wake ups, but this part right here was when you, like, I really realized, like, man, this right here is like something that could have really been a detriment to,
yeah. No, for sure.
I
And
mean,
that was
if you weren't so headstrong, pause, you could have been able to, you wouldn't have been able to, you know what I mean, navigate and get through a situation like this. You know what I'm
for
saying?
sure, for
You
sure.
you want to keep that, like I said, it was the part that I actually highlighted was ultimately I could handle jail, for I knew it would only be a brief stint. But jail combined with not having a main source of income when I was released was something I greatly feared.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You know, and the reason why, like I always, like I said that and made that a point to point out is because you're so clean cut that you don't want to have to deal with not having to live
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean, a straight line. You know what I mean? Because
absolutely,
that's half the battle half the time when people that get out of jail. They
absolutely.
get put in the box and they don't get to make the decisions.
Right,
So I
right.
was like, man, that right there was like that joint was like, man, he really is really in limbo right now. I could
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
I felt
man.
like I was going through with
Yeah.
him on that day. You know what
That's
I'm saying?
yeah, that's funny, man. You hit it up. You hit the nail on the head, man. That was
Man,
like ultimately that was the scariest thing for me. Of course, jail. That's scary in itself. You know what I'm
yes,
saying?
yeah,
But me not having me coming home, me getting out and not having the resources that I worked so hard to attain, that was like the real fear. You know what I'm saying? Because I, I went to school. I built myself up for this. I
worked
did like
hard for that,
you
man.
know what I'm saying? Like I
Worked hard.
did like I grinded to get to this point,
Yes,
and for that to be potentially stripped away from me, that was something that I was really, really in fear of. You know what I'm saying? Like to really have to start. Now, I mean, of course, if that happens, all right, I gotta just go back to the drawing board and go back to get like, you know what I mean? Like really,
figure it out.
and figure it out, right? But to have to go back to square one after years of getting myself to this point, that's that was the real test and the real scary part of that situation.
Yeah,
Like, because I knew, I mean, like I said, I was there and it sucked, and of course, I didn't want to be there.
but you can handle
But
it.
yeah, I knew ultimately I wasn't in there for a long period of time, and that's the
That's
thing.
where
I wasn't right. I'm not drama. I don't want to dramatize this as if like I did a bid or I'm not. This isn't what this is about. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
facts.
But the real like I was really scared of. Okay, I know I'm getting out at this time, but if I get out and I don't have a job and I don't have like my resources, that's scary to me.
It's way more detrimental. So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
more so. That's more
Way
so of
more
a hindrance.
detrimental.
That's
Exactly.
more so of a hindrance on your future because, like you said, time and time again, that the time you spent in there was a stint, and I
Yeah.
specifically that's the word that I underlined a few times. It was
Right.
a short stint.
Short.
That's going to end.
Right.
But the future has to have a piece of a foundation. Like we have to still have
Right. I
that.
mean,
That
right.
was very
I need to come home with something to stand on.
that
Like,
was very different for me. That was very
right.
different. That was
Yeah, for sure. For
that
sure.
was
Yeah.
one that I
No,
really underlined for
that's
sure.
very real. That's very real. Because that was something that I was really afraid of, like really afraid of.
Yeah. Another part that I and this is before that, this is page 88. When you talk about a lady, Miss Kelly, and a conversation that you had with her, and telling her what you were doing for a living. It says what you were doing for a living and your plans upon release. And she told you, she said, it sounds like you had a pretty good life before you came in here. And you corrected her by stating, no, I have a pretty good life currently.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Had.
Yeah. It's over. Right.
So, and I loved, and that was something that was another part that I liked too, because it was an immediate dismissal of being written off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you had that mind frame, but then later on, I see that one and I'm like, yo, you know what? That's still, that fear is still ultimately there, because there's a future that you're coming home to.
Right. You know what I mean?
And like you said, this is not a bid. This is not going up north.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it is or it isn't. A person that's never been is not going to be ready for no shit like this.
Absolutely.
See what I'm saying? So 100%. Those were two of the top things. The other page that I had did, just to kind of, didn't want to harp on it too much, was when you were watching TV and it seemed the news about Nipsey.
Yeah.
That kind of coincides with this whole thing. Like, that's not supposed to be there.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely.
So it's like, man, that was this, and it's dozens of things that I highlighted, but those two things I really, those 2 points that I took time to talk about, those are the two things that I really want people to understand. Like, that's the premise of the book. Like, you see what I'm saying? You have to. There's a lot of other things that I'm not even going to talk about, because you guys got to read this stuff, man.
Yeah, man, for sure. I really appreciate that, man.
Yeah, for sure. For real. Interesting. Like, I like stuff like that. I'm a buff for stuff like that.
Yeah.
So to give people that aspect and being able to visualize and put themselves in your shoes for, you know what I mean, a few hundred pages.
Yeah,
I think it was very beneficial what you did, man. That's very commendable, and I respect you for that, for sure.
For sure, man. I like I said, I really, really appreciate you getting it.
For sure.
That's like one of the. I mean, the main thing that I just wanted to get out of that is, for one, turning a negative into a positive. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a low point in my life. It was something that, it was embarrassing. It was, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like people, like, and then, like, we're from this area is really small, so people who, I mean, everybody knows everybody, so the word is out. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
and like you said, because of what your name stands for and everything that comes behind what you do and people's perceptions and whatever, regardless of however you may say you don't pay attention to it, it still clicks in your head when you make decisions every time.
Absolutely.
So when you say it's embarrassing, I definitely know what you mean, because I've been in certain situations where I've done certain things like, man, even though somebody else might look at it like it's not that crazy and it's something that happened, nah, bro, this don't happen to me. You know what I mean? I'm not even trying to make it like that, but nah, this right here is not supposed to happen to me.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So I totally respect that, man.
I said it was, turning a negative into a positive, but also showing people that, your mistakes don't define you at all. Like, all of us are greater than the worst thing that we've ever done. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So this was it was a moment in time. And whenever you make a mistake, you address it, you deal with it. And then once it's over, you get up, you dust yourself off, and you continue moving forward and progressing, because this is not, you know what I'm saying? This is not like the best of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, your mistakes aren't the best of who you are.
Yep.
There are moments in time, there's slip-ups there, and we all have them. So you just have to, have the wherewithal to continue to move forward from whatever mistake it is. Some are bigger than others, you know what I'm saying? Some may take longer to get over. I'm not saying, of course. But, you just have to have the vision and the wherewithal to continue pressing forward, no matter what the situation is. You know what I mean? That's what I wanted to highlight in there as well. Like, this is something that, it was an embarrassing moment, but it's a part of my story. So this is something that I'm going to put out, and hopefully and ultimately it will help someone else.
Right.
Who may have the opportunity to pick it up, or who may be going through the same situation.
And it will. And it probably has already, and you don't even know it.
Right. You know what I mean? And that's like one of the things, you know, I've been putting these just videos out to promote the book. And one of the videos just about just sharing the story that you have. You know what I'm saying? Because you really don't know. All of us have stories. All of us have a story to tell.
Yep.
And when you tell your story, you don't know who else out there is going through something similar to you. And that gives them, it kind of gives, when you share your story, it kind of gives them the permission to continue fighting and to continue going on. You know what I'm saying? So it's important. It's real important for people to do that. Regardless of what your story. This was a part of my story. I'm gonna share it. But I know people who've been through. We all know people who've been through worse situations than this. It's important for you to share it, and you be surprised the audience that you have. You know what I'm saying? Like you may think that your story is whatever, it's common, or man, ain't nobody gonna listen to this. But I'm telling you, people like hearing what people go through because it gives them a sense of, all right, I can make it through because this person did it.
Yeah.
For me, you know what I'm saying? So those things are important, man. It's real important. So
fact, man.
I encourage people to continue to, you know, to share their stories, however you do it. You know what I mean? That it's important. It's really important. So
that's a fact, man. And this was definitely a wonderful way to share your story. It was a beautiful blessing to the people that was able to get their hands on it. As soon as it came out, they sold out like hotcakes.
Yeah,
so
it did well.
That's how hot it was, ladies and gentlemen.
It's still doing well. Yeah, for sure.
Book. So how can they let the people know how they can purchase this book and support the book?
So right now you can just go to Amazon. So if you my Instagram page is Lucky Lefty 468, LUCKY LEFTY 468. The link for the book is in my bio. It's an Amazon link. It'll take you straight there. You just click on the link, go purchase it. And you can go to Barnes and Noble and purchase it as well. The Barnes and Noble website and purchase it. Just type in 30 for 30, and then
right down there.
Yeah, 30 for 30. The writing's behind the wall. It'll come up. You know, you can read the reviews. It has really good reviews. People, you know, I have gotten nothing but positive feedback from it thus far. You know, and it's been doing well. So that's the way that people can get it for now. I had copies. I was selling copies on my own, but the turnaround time for that takes too long. Like for me to put an order in to get personal copies to sell, it takes like a month and a half for those books to get to me. So I don't want people to wait that long. I was doing pre-orders. People pre-ordered it, but then they have to wait a month and a half to get the book because it takes that long for them to produce it and ship it to me. So that's why I've just been telling people, just go to Amazon. You can order from there, and I'll still sign it. You know what I mean? Like, because people say, you know, I want a signed copy. I'll definitely still sign it for you if you get it. I'll still link with you and sign a copy, so that's no problem at all. So,
gotcha, man. Got you. So just want to let y'all know, man, so y'all can go ahead and get that, man, and support the brother's good book. It's a wonderful experience. It's not even just a book, experience. So definitely make sure y'all check that out, man.
Also, if you read it, if you have a copy of it now, and if you plan on getting a copy, please write a review on Amazon for the book. It doesn't have to be long. Just share your thoughts on on the read, what you thought about it, good or bad. I'm welcome to all criticism. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It just makes for healthy dialogue, healthy conversation. So yeah, please write a review for it. I was able to get in the paper for it. I didn't expect that would happen the way it did, but I was on the front. The story was on the front page of the Capitol last week. And that was just a blessing in itself. Because like I said, I was just trying to promote the book. I'm just trying to get it out and get it into as many hands as possible. But, I spoke to a reporter. I reached out to her and she called me and she said, Darren, this is really good. She was like, and I was kind of skeptical because a lot of people reach out to me saying that they've written books that are from the area. They say they've written books. And she said they're not good. But no, for real, like she was like, they're like, I read them, they're not good. But she was like, I read this in a day. This is really, really good. So
we started experience, man. I'm telling you, man. This is an experience, bro.
Thank you. That's I never I wasn't gonna put anything out that wasn't like a quality product. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to show people, like, just even with the videos that I did and the design of the book, like, I put time and effort into it. And I want people to, I'm not going to put anything out that isn't a good representation of me. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you.
So I wanted to highlight that. And, you know, me and the lady, she spoke to me, we chopped it up, and next thing I know, the next day, it's on the front page. And I knew it would be in the paper, but I didn't think it would be, you know, as big of a story as it was. So
Yeah, that's what I was saying, man. You know, you probably didn't even know. You feel me?
Yeah.
There's no way you would think that, but
yeah,
somebody caught it and they got it, and it was,
for sure, man, for sure. So
it moved them.
that definitely a blessing. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so
sir.
yeah, just
Yes, sir. What's next, man? What's next in the fold, man? What you got next for us?
I don't know. I mean,
you gonna pursue this author thing? You gonna pursue it?
Man, people have been reaching out saying that, you know, well, what's the next book gonna be about? So I don't know. That's something, you know, that's an idea I'm toying with.
Okay.
You know, I do like to write. I enjoy writing. So that's something I'll look into some more. But if that happens, you know, people know about it. People definitely know about it. But I'm still fleshing out those ideas right now. But as for now, just still promoting this book, getting it out to as many people as possible. You know, I may have some things in the works coming up as far as, you know, maybe just some question and answer sessions and things like that.
Yeah.
So just, you know, people can be on the lookout for, and I'm going to continuously promote it. You got to promote your product, whatever it is. You know what I mean? So that's something that I'm seeing actually now with just a lot of people in this area, and I'm sure that you're seeing it as well. Just a lot of people just starting their own businesses and having their own products and doing podcasts and just having things to do and things to sell and things to promote. That's, you know, I love it. That's dope to see. You know what I'm saying?
It's Chris. I love creation. I love creatives.
Yeah.
I like it. It's like a form of hustling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's not even a hustling, because people think that's the hustle is to get money or whatever, and you just no. The whole grind and the grind that goes on behind closed doors and all of the things you got to go through in order to get to the point where we're at. Like all of that stuff means something. Like all of it.
For sure, absolutely.
So
I love to see it. I love seeing people starting their businesses and promoting their products and so that, I mean, I'm gonna continuously do that. And you know, I'm gonna see where this author thing goes. I may see where it goes, but you know, for now, I'm focused on. I'm focused on this. That's what I'm focused
on. Yes, sir.
On. So,
ladies and gentlemen,
for sure.
Make sure y'all get your hands on this.
Yeah.
See that? Get it on close up.
Yeah, man. 30 for 30.
You know. Now I'm gonna go ahead and let you go, man, because we've been on here for a little while. It's been getting a little late, but I really appreciate you coming on, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was definitely this was a different interview, and we need to have these kind of interviews as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It opens up the spectrum, like you said. We have to see it. We have to have a path. We have to be able to hear the story of somebody else in order to get to where we need to go.
For sure.
Whatever field they may be in, it doesn't have to just be sports. As you guys can see, somebody was removed from the sport because of a physical, you know what I mean, interruption, and he was able to pursue and still navigate in life in a whole different facet that he didn't even imagine. You know what I mean? So
for sure.
That was one of the main reasons why I wanted to get you on here, to show that perspective, to show that, you know what I mean, you can be in situations with different classes and different creeds and also still come back with your own and still maintain your integrity and go through life and pursue greatness. That's the main reason why I had you on here, and I really appreciate it. I know I say it 1,000 times, but keep saying it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, for sure. And that's like I said, thank you. And all of those things are important. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to tell you, man, just keep doing what you're doing. I love it. Like I said, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. Always been a fan. Always been a fan of you, what you're doing. And once you started this is an excellent platform. You know what I'm saying?
I got you, bro.
For people in our area to tell their stories, and for people, you know, who may know about a person, but, you know, may not know as much in depth. This is a platform. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I applaud you. You know what I mean? I'm more than thankful to be a guest on it. Absolutely.
I appreciate you, man. And when I get on big TV screens, you're gonna be right there with me again. I might meet you there, honestly.
Yeah. No,
right
no
now,
doubt.
you know what I'm saying?
No doubt, for sure, man. For sure.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that, dog. And everybody, I thank you guys for coming out and checking out my man D on this Gift is Free podcast, man. And like I said, make sure y'all go to Amazon right down there. I got it right down here. Check it out. You know what I mean, go in there and search that on Amazon and get that book.
Yeah, man. Give me a chance, man. You're gonna like it. It's thought provoking. It's funny. It's introspective. You'll enjoy it. I'm confident.
It's an experience. It's definitely an experience. It's not a book. This is an experience.
Word. No doubt.
Like I said, man, I really appreciate it, man. I'm gonna go ahead and let you go and go ahead and close this thing out, and I'll see you in a little bit, bro.
All right, my brother.
All right, man.
Later.
Appreciate my man coming through this evening, man. It was definitely a joyous interview, and I really sincerely appreciate it, man. Like I said, you guys, this is I wasn't even just saying it because it's my homeboy. This is really an experience. Like, you know what I mean? If you've never had been in the path or to go down a wrong street, or just been kind of provoked to be in a bad situation, or whatever the case may be, you just been living clean and doing your thing, you know what I mean? This is something that is an experience that you can get, you know what I mean, and really see in depth what somebody like that was going through, you know what I mean? I'm gonna go ahead and end this thing real quick, man. And like I said, I appreciate everybody for coming out and joining the interview tonight. And I'm gonna make sure this is available on YouTube, and I'm gonna put it on iTunes on the podcast app as well, so you guys can get listens on iTunes. That'll probably be on in the next couple of days. And as always, man, you guys can go to giftisfree.com. It's on the ticker at the bottom to check out the gear that we have up, and I have a blog on there as well. Other than that, man, I appreciate everybody that came through. Like I said 1,000 times, because I really mean it. I appreciate it. And always remember, man, the gift is free. It's all about what you're going to do to separate yourself. Get out there this week. Grind hard to shine hard, man. That's what it takes. You got to separate yourself. 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people want to do what you do. So what's going to be the difference when you do it? And I appreciate y'all, man. I'll see y'all soon. Holla.